What the film, everybody? I'm Cece.
And I'm Brian.
And today we are talking about Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey.
Don't forget to watch the movie. Don't forget to watch the show.
Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, or as the studio changed its name to most recently, Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey, is a spiritual sequel to the 2016 movie Suicide Squad, in which we first meet Harley Quinn, who is the girlfriend of the Joker. Or at least that's how she's commonly referred to. She is, in fact, Harleen Quinzel, who was a psychiatrist in Arkham Asylum, where she met the Joker.
Right.
And fell for him, fell for his psychotic personality. In this movie, she allies herself with a group of girls who have all been wronged in some way in order to defend themselves from one bad guy played by Ewan McGregor, who goes by the villainous name of Black Mask.
Yes. And this is also a breakup movie following Harley right after her and the Joker have broken up. And so it's very much about her, like, forming a girl group and them defending themselves, but it's also about her breakup and, like, recovery, coming back from a breakup.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's a very recovery from trauma style film for a lot of the characters in this.
Yeah.
The main plot is surrounding one girl, Cassandra Cain, who has stolen something from Black Mask, and through a series of events, all these girls come together in order to rally around Cassandra Cain.
Protect her
protect
in a lot
her
of ways.
from Black Mask.
Yeah.
They become this temporary family, or I guess alliance.
Isn't this fun? It's just like a sleepover. We should order pizza. Big cosmos. Harley, focus.
Yeah, temporary alliance, temporary protective measures.
Yeah.
Because I think they all feel just a little bit protective about this young girl who has kind of started into a life of crime.
Yeah.
And they're all kind of like, oh, I remember when I was a baby person, like, getting involved in crime. I don't want her to get, like, killed.
Yeah.
So some of the other characters we have, there is Huntress, who we don't learn her backstory for quite a while, but she is kind of hopping through the stories. She's a cool girl with a crossbow.
The crossbow killer.
Crossbow killer. There is Black Canary, who is a performer at Black Mask's, like, club. And she also kind of becomes his driver.
Yep.
We have the detective who is, like, trying to put him behind bars.
Yeah, she's been working on a case against Black Mask for some time. So a lot of this movie has to deal with female trauma, especially trauma inflicted by men on women. And one thing that's important to note is there's a lot of controversy around this particular film.
Yeah.
A lot of men online are saying that this particular film only paints men in a negative light, that every single man in this movie is irredeemable.
Right.
And one thing we have to take into consideration is this whole movie is told from the point of view of Harley Quinn. Harley Quinn is the narrator.
Yeah,
of
and
this.
she is very much an unreliable narrator. It's Harley telling the stories of herself and the stories of every other woman involved in the movie. So it's painted in a very specific light because it's how Harley sees these stories. It's kind of omniscient. I don't know if it's something we're supposed to imply, like she learned their stories from them later and that's why she's telling their stories, or if she's just acting as an omniscient narrator, but she is our narrator, she's our intro to the world and the characters, and so it's unreliable in that way. You're not really sure fully if that's exactly how everything went down.
You get a lot of jumps in time in the story because it helps to illustrate Harley's point of view and Harley's mindset. So I thought that was really cool that just through some very easy stylistic choices by the director, by the editor, we get to see into the psyche of our narrator, of our unreliable narrator, Harley Quinn, and how she deals with abuse, how she deals with her day-to-day life after being the victim of abuse, which was really cool and really powerful.
Yeah.
So, Cece, what did you think of Birds of Prey? Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey, the Fantabulous Emancipation of Harley Quinn, the Birds of Prey, and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, Birds of Prey.
And the Joker.
And the Joker.
I liked it.
Yeah,
It
me
was
too.
a good movie.
Yeah.
I feel like you were saying, there was this big divide between people who love the movie and hate the movie. And I went into it with higher expectations, just because I feel like my side of the internet was really pro Harley Quinn, and I was hearing all the gay ladies talking about how much fun it was to watch Birds of Prey. And if there's one thing that's going to get me to a movie, it's a bunch of gay ladies saying, this is fun to watch if you're a gay lady.
Can I help you?
Why, yes, you can. I'm here to report a terrible crime.
And what terrible crime is that?
This one.
Yeah, and I think that I got a lot of the positives about this movie through you and through the sort of hype that you were finding online through your community. Because when I saw the trailer initially for Birds of Prey, I was like, why do we need this? What is the reason for this? Why are we getting a Suicide Squad 2 when we're already going to get an actual Suicide Squad 2?
Like, reboot.
Yeah, so it felt like a Star Wars story, Han Solo, Rogue One sort of thing, until I started to hear the sort of press around it, the positive reviews, the people getting really excited for this movie, and also sort of the negative get woke, go broke sort of thing. I was like, oh, so that's the reason we don't want to see this. That's the only reason against this.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot more positives than there are negatives if that's the only thing that people are coming up with.
As a reason to not see it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I remember when I saw the initial trailer, I was really, really into it because I feel like I see so many movies where guys get to just kind of go buck wild. The only experience I have with that is something like Gone Girl, which is one of my favorite movies of all time. It's one of my favorite books of all time because I live for the chance, those little bitty moments where a woman gets to be irredeemable but entertaining and engaging. And the trailers I was seeing just reminded me so much of Gone Girl and the press for that, and being able to see Margot Robbie just kind of go crazy and have fun with that. It's an opportunity I feel like a lot of women in Hollywood don't get.
I agree. And it's interesting being, a white man, having that privilege. It allowed me, I think, to sort of disconnect from the importance of that the first time that I saw the trailer. The more I saw the trailer, the more I realized the importance of it. The more I saw the behind the scenes footage, all the other things that they put out for this movie, the more excited I got. I think that when I saw it initially, I was like, oh, another superhero movie. Oh, another DC Universe movie. But once I realized, oh, this is what I get all the time. This is what is made for me all the time. That's really cool. It's kind of like Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel. The first time I saw the trailers for it, I was like, oh, it's another Marvel Cinematic Universe superhero movie.
Origin story, yeah.
Cool. Whatever, right? And I didn't really think about the importance of that, the impact of that. Same with Force Awakens when it came to the first female protagonist for a Star Wars film. I didn't understand the importance of it. I just saw it as yet another thing. And yet at the same time, I'm not on that side of why do we have to push women? Why do we have to push minorities, people of color? I've never really understood that because I don't understand why not. Yeah. It's not happening at the expense of men. The Birds of Prey is not about men. There are no men in the Birds of Prey. That's the whole premise of it.
Point, yeah.
There is no male Captain Marvel other than the originator in the comics, but that doesn't matter to me. I don't understand that argument.
Yeah.
So
it's not taking up the space of another Marvel origin story about a white dude, because we have so many of those. There's no space there to take up. Exactly. I'm totally fine with this coming out instead of like a Joker film, especially. Over a Joker film. Yeah, so I've never really understood the lashback against this sort of undertaking. I was going into this with fewer expectations than I think you were, but I was slightly excited for it. I think that it was a similar situation to back when I saw Scott Pilgrim vs. the World back in 2010.
And this movie has a real similar vibe.
So similar.
If you like Scott Pilgrim versus the World, I think you're really going to enjoy this film. It's got that same sort of like chaotic energy.
Yes.
It's got that same sort of fight choreography that's really well done, like unexpectedly well done.
Yes.
And I remember going into that film thinking the advertising for this has been terrible.
Yeah.
And the marketing for this has been terrible.
Terrible.
Why should I care? But someone said, no, you have to see this movie. It's really, really good. And I went into the theater and I was wowed by it.
Yes.
I came out thinking, holy crap, why is this not a bigger deal?
Yeah.
And I had that same sort of energy seeing Birds of Prey. I was completely floored by it. I thought it was fantastic. And I was so confused as to why people aren't just constantly raving about
Yes.
how great this is.
How is everyone in the world not going to see this right now?
Exactly.
And it's so funny because I know I had a very similar experience to you, like with Scott Pilgrim, where I didn't know anything about it in 2010. I went to see it because my dad heard about it because he worked for the newspaper at the time. We went, and again, like, it wowed me. I'd never seen anything like it. And it's why Edgar Wright is still my, like, second favorite director of all time. I'm in love with his work, and it all started with that. And I feel like I totally had that moment with this movie where it felt like a weird underdog that was doing really cool original stuff. Not enough people are paying attention to it when it's trying these original ideas and this original style. Yeah.
You cocky cock!
Psychologically speaking, vengeance rarely brings the catharsis we hope for. Yeah. Are we ready?
I totally agree. Yeah, it wowed me because of its originality. It wowed me because it was an experience that I haven't had before watching a film.
Yes.
I was so surprised. And it's really weird that the news surrounding this film has been what a flop it is.
Yeah, that it's such a failure.
Yeah.
That it's the biggest flop of DC movie history.
Yeah, and they said it's like $31 million for opening weekend domestically. They're saying, what a flop. I can't believe it. This is terrible. They're ignoring the $86 million. If I'm wrong, here's the correction. Here's the correct amount that it made.
There you go.
Internationally, it made back its money in the first weekend, and everything after that is profit.
Yes.
We looked back at the stats for Scott Pilgrim. It made $10 million.
Yeah, it made about
$10.6
million domestically its first weekend, and overall, its total gross for like this entire run worldwide, internationally, was something like $47 million.
Yeah.
Again, if I'm wrong, right here.
Right there.
Pretty sure I remember, but I think it's right there. And it's wild because I think Scott Pilgrim is considered a real success.
Yeah.
Now there's a lot of push behind it. Like, we have a bunch of Funko Pops that are mass produced of Scott Pilgrim.
Yeah.
It's a thing that you can engage with most people who enjoy movies and they will know about Scott Pilgrim. So it's wild to hear this being considered a flop when it is already doing so much better than a movie that I think shares a lot tonally.
I adjusted it, or I went to a calculator and adjusted it for inflation. Scott Pilgrim would have only made like $12.6 million in its opening weekend if it opened today.
Yep.
And it's got such a strong cult following. It's a great litmus test for understanding whether or not that person enjoys the same sort of film and cinema that you do, and also if you can be friends with them. I think it's a great litmus test for friendship as well.
Yeah, I feel like that was one of the first things we bonded over when we met and became friends. Was just like, we had such a similar style in movies, and we were like, but Scott Pilgrim, the Cornetto trilogy.
Definitely.
Right?
Big thing that really made me think of Scott Pilgrim in this is the snappy dialogue.
Yes.
The harsh cuts into combat, into fight choreography that also is broken up with fun dialogue. It's not one drawn out action sequence and then we're done and this is when we talk. It was more like fight, fight, fight. Hey, do you need this hair tie? Here you go.
Hair tie? Yeah.
fight.
Right, and I think it managed to do that, but not in a stereotypically, like, this is the Marvel Cinematic Universe humor way.
Yeah.
Because I feel like that is something that is made fun of a lot with
It
Marvel
is.
movies, is that they have very similar styles of humor. They have to undercut sincerity with a joke. They have to, like, move between fight scenes while they're also all joking with one another. And I think that this did that, but in a way that sets it apart from something like that Marvel humor, which
Yeah.
I like.
Yeah.
I enjoy the Marvel humor, but I think it's a distinction in why this felt more original. It didn't feel like such general humor.
General humor.
Felt specific to the movie and these characters in
Agreed.
a really fun and engaging way.
I agree. It wasn't quips.
Yes.
You know, you get a lot of those in Justice League.
Yeah.
Where they were trying to copy the style of Marvel, where, you know, you get a booyah or
Yeah.
my man in the middle of it, trying to make people laugh. Whereas this was very conversational. We already understood the characters and how they interact with one another, and then moving forward with that felt very natural.
Yeah.
When they had time to stop and speak to each other and then move back into the action sequences.
Yeah. And I think it was a real, like, credit to this movie that it was an origin story without being an origin story. I haven't seen Suicide Squad. I've had no interest in it, but I didn't need that to see this movie, and not in a they catch you up on everything kind of way.
Right.
Just that it felt like they really did a good job in fleshing out each character so that by the time they met, they could have this conversational way of communicating. Because you had gotten to know them over the movie, that it didn't just start and go, and now they're a team. It spent a good portion of the movie building on each individual character.
Yeah.
So that you understood when they met up exactly how they were going to interact.
Yeah.
Which was really nice, and again, felt so original as someone who's seen a lot of superhero movies and as a culture that has consumed so much superhero stuff. It was a nice shorthand while also making sure we got these characters in a very real sense.
I agree. Yeah. I really liked the time that they spent on each of those in order to develop natural connections, or connections that felt natural
Yeah.
to this world and this environment, that Harley is relating to us through this story. I remember the first Avengers movie.
Yeah.
How Captain America, Thor, and Iron Man met was they were all literally just dropped into one scene.
Yeah.
And then they're like, we're gonna fight.
Hey! That's enough.
Well,
And
I
then
don't know
someone
about
says-
you, I'm macho.
Yeah, and they're like, oh, we're gonna fight. Wait, no, let's not fight. We're the Avengers.
Yeah.
Right? Like, it, and this didn't do that. It was, Harley has this long progression of guilt and grief following her breakup with the Joker, and she runs into this character who already ran into this other character
Yeah.
who is, through her investigation, linked to this other character. And so I really felt like it was very natural, and I
It was
really liked
organic.
it. Yeah. And to your point about not seeing Suicide Squad before,
Right.
for those of you who have seen Suicide Squad, you might remember that Harley Quinn looked like this.
God, yeah.
Harley Quinn was wearing an outfit that had
Daddy's Little Monster.
Yeah,
and
Daddy's
she was
Little
wearing
Monster.
sequined panties, which some of you may know is the least comfortable article of clothing to ever wear.
Yeah. And I mean, to be fair to the directors, they were hot pants. So.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's right. That's right. It's important
Yeah.
to her character.
Yeah. One thing that you can recognize about her character through that costuming is that she is performative in her
Yes.
sexuality, and she is consumed with this idea of being seen by men, specifically the Joker, and being sexy to his standards and looking the way that he wants her to, and that she's basically owned by him.
Yeah.
Whereas in this film, following her breakup, she starts to wear clothing that is comfortable for her, or clothing that she likes the style of, clothing that she feels represents her personality better.
Yeah.
And so I find it very interesting that there's that internet discourse going on about how the Birds of Prey, they took these women and made them not sexy. Which, first of all, if you haven't seen Black Canary, if you haven't seen Huntress, if you haven't seen Harley Quinn, and you're not, if you're not attracted to them, maybe you're not attracted to women.
I don't. That's fine if you want.
Fine.
But speaking as two people who very much are, this movie was so sexy.
Yeah, they're really hot.
So hot.
They're really hot.
They're so hot. How do you look at Huntress?
I don't know.
And like, it's not just my passion for Mary Elizabeth Winstead.
What?
You are so cool.
It's that, like, in that outfit, in her self-assured
Right?
stance, in, like, everything about her
Right.
is very sexy.
Yeah, and it's not just the way she looks. It's her confidence. It's her quirks.
It's her lack of confidence.
Yes.
She's this awkward duck.
It's her performative.
Yes.
Yeah, her performative confidence.
Yes. And, like, I remember when we were in the theater, there's a bit where Huntress jumps on a motorcycle and goes and picks someone else up, and I just remember thinking, oh god, she could run me over with that motorcycle.
I mean, I think we were all
I
thinking
think we
that.
were all
Yeah,
there.
Yeah.
It's so funny because Harley Quinn was wearing so many outfits that women I know would wear in certain events. They were
Yeah.
obviously pushed to an extreme,
Yeah.
but even, her high-waisted shorts that she wears through the whole movie, I don't know a woman who would willingly put on low-rise anything.
No.
And it was really nice that she was wearing high-waisted shorts through the whole thing, because I was like, yes, that is an outfit I would pick out. That's an outfit that my friends would pick out.
Yes. Yeah, it's comfortable, and yet it's still sexy.
Yes.
And so she gets to show her sexuality for herself. Yeah. She gets to show it in her own way. It's not for someone else. It's for her.
Yeah.
I thought that was really cool. I thought that was awesome. It's interesting that the trailer chooses to use a moment where she says, we're gonna have to work together. And then the Huntress goes, sure.
We're gonna have to work together.
Sure.
And in that trailer, again, because the marketing for this and the advertising for this was terrible.
It's really bad.
That scene in the movie was one of the best for showcasing the different personalities of each individual member of this team. And in the trailer, it comes across as like, she's like, sure, whatever, but it was, we got to work together, and one's like, yeah, we got to protect the girl.
Yeah.
And, yeah, it's the right thing to do. And then she's like, sure.
Yeah.
Like, not sure what that she's supposed to say or do.
She's so awkward.
And it's lovely. And I think that was the case with a lot of the advertisements for this.
Yes.
There were scenes that would have been great for showcasing what this movie was about, what these characters were about, and instead it looked like it went through a blender and was attempted being passed off as something like Suicide Squad, like a Marvel movie. And it's really got this different feel to it. It's its own creature, it's its own entity, and I think that it just, I don't know, it got the shaft. It wasn't properly distributed. It was a great movie that was buried.
Yeah, it feels like the studio gave up on it, which is a real shame when, like, the way that cinema is currently treated is that, like, every girl gang movie is the make it or break it of whether or not we're ever going to get another girl gang movie. It's so upsetting to see a studio abandon that before it even gets the chance
I agree.
to make a statement.
I agree.
A lot of queer women loved Charlie's Angels, and I was not one of them. I didn't like it.
Yeah.
I thought that that's what this movie was. This is what Charlie's Angels wanted to be.
Yeah.
It, like, where Charlie's Angels was awkward and stilted, these characters were so much more comfortable with themselves, comfortable conversing with one another.
Yeah.
Their backstories were so much better. Like, every scene in Charlie's Angels felt forced. no scene in this movie felt forced. And it didn't spend the entire movie making this conscious statement like, girl gangs for life, girls are all that matter, in a way that feels really hollow and just like it's trying so desperately to appeal to me that it no longer appeals to me.
I agree.
And this does it effortlessly, which makes it so much nicer to consume.
And I totally agree with what you said about Charlie's Angels feeling like an attempt at that, but coming across hollow. And this is very fleshed out. And if you did like Charlie's Angels, you'll probably still like Birds of Prey, because you just get more depth for your money.
And you get 2 on-screen confirmed queer women.
Yeah.
Which is really nice.
Yeah, it's not something you get to see every day,
No.
especially from something like this.
Yeah, especially from a big studio, especially from a big, like a comic book movie. It's, I think, done more as far as, like, queer rep than any other comic book movie that's out there right now.
Yeah.
Like, we're moving towards it, we're going to have more characters in the future, but Harley is, like, in the very first few seconds confirmed as having an ex-girlfriend, and the detective has an ex-girlfriend, and it's just nice. It's nice to see a movie do that easily, without question.
And they don't dwell on it either.
No.
It's not like one of those performative, we're woke because we have gay people in it type of presentations of queer representation.
Please give us your gay money.
Yeah, it wasn't these 2 hot women who make out with each other because we know that's what straight guys want to see.
Or
it was just
2 guys who are married but only hug because the straight guys won't want to see them kiss.
Exactly. Instead, it was a character having an off-screen romance and then another character having to interact with her ex in a way that just felt natural. It was never brought up as something weird. It was never pointed out by another character as being strange or unusual or made fun of. It was just there, and it was really nice.
It was, and there were so many points at which I was worried that was going to happen because of a character like Renee Montoya. She's in this setting with a bunch of other police officers, and I feel like so many other lesser forms of media has used that as an excuse to just throw around casual homophobia.
Yeah.
That's just unnecessary, and it's just to, like, call attention to it. It was nice to see a character not have to face that, because you don't need to. Not every instance of queer people being in a film needs to be about how they're struggling and how life's so hard. You can just have someone be queer and that
you
can
can
be
just
it.
have it be there. Just let it be normal. Just let it be part of the narrative and the character and move on.
Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, would you recommend Birds of Prey, and what would you give it out of 5 stars?
Yes, I would firmly recommend it to people. I think that this is a ton of fun. I think a lot of different people can enjoy this movie. I wound up giving it a 4.5 out of 5 star. I just loved watching it, and it's a movie I can see myself watching over and over again. I think this was easily my favorite DC movie that's out there. Besides maybe Wonder Woman, but this and Wonder Woman feel like such different animals that,
I agree.
like, it's so difficult to even compare them.
I agree.
But, like, I really hope that this can kind of be a style that the DC, like, cinematic universe carries forward with stuff like Wonder Woman and Shazam and this movie that I've really liked and that are fun without being Marvel movies.
I agree.
I just hope that this is a continued sign. I felt the same way after seeing Shazam last year, of just going, oh, please God, let this be the way that the rest of the DC movies can kind of evolve and become more engaging.
Yeah, and I think that it's also okay for there to be a branch of DC that deals with that dark stuff.
Sure.
That can be for the Justice League fans. Let us have Shazam. Let us have Birds of Prey. Let Wonder Woman walk the middle line.
Yeah.
And that's fine. We don't have... DC does not have to be Marvel.
No.
It doesn't have to be the same style every single time.
No.
That's Marvel. Let Marvel do Marvel. DC needs to do its own thing. And I think it's okay if that thing is doing multiple things.
Yeah. It feels like DC should embrace the fact that maybe it can create very tonally different movies instead of doing something like Disney where whenever they disagree with the direction of a Marvel movie they fire the director and bring in someone who's more willing to go with their style. It'd be really nice if DC could become a place where filmmakers with original ideas could go and make totally different movies that don't have to all be this one thing.
Right. And hopefully that's the case with Suicide Squad 2 coming up. And like I said, if you like Suicide Squad, great. If you like Batman v Superman, awesome. There was a lot of things in that I also liked. But we should be allowed as an audience to have different styles of movies all encompassed within the same universe. I think that's fine. And I also would strongly recommend this movie to basically anyone. Maybe not small kids, but but to anyone that can see it within its rating. I strongly recommend going and seeing it. This is definitely a movie that I'm going to be purchasing a hard copy of. I want the steelbook of it. I want Funko Pops of it. It's going to be something that I watch over and over again, and I gave it a 4.5 stars out of 5. The only reason being that I'm reserving my 5 stars for something perfect. And I just think this is almost there, but not quite.
Yeah, totally agree. And this had a killer soundtrack, so I'm definitely going to be...
good.
We didn't even talk about that, but I'm going to be listening to that on repeat.
I agree.
Yet another thing it did better than Charlie's Angels. I did see a tweet that was like, the soundtrack for Birds of Prey was what the Charlie's Angels soundtrack was trying to do, and like... The soundtrack was killer.
Yeah. Go over to Spotify, take a listen to that as well.
Yeah.
So let us know what you thought of the movie if you have seen it. If you haven't seen it and you don't want to see it, let us know why, because we'd love to know what sort of things we should address in these reviews for movies when we recommend or don't recommend going to see it. Please like the video if you liked it. Consider subscribing to our channel as well. We're brand new, but we're hoping to get fast out of the gate and get a lot of these reviews up. We're also going to be doing a lot of videos on other forms of media, television, streaming services, so stay tuned for that.
Turn on notifications if you want to know when we upload videos. If you want like a preview into some of the stuff we're going to be uploading, we're going to be talking about The Gentleman in our next video, so maybe if you're trying to decide what to see this weekend, we're going to be able to let you know. We're going to be talking about the Good Place finale, and we might be doing our own videos for, like, TV that we really love separately, so...
Yeah, stay tuned for a video that I'm planning about The Magicians.
So if that sounds interesting to you, come on back. Thank you all so much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous. Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of one... I agree. I agree.
I agree.
I didn't want me doing this in the... you see that? See that, guys? In the corners of my mouth. Show her
Show her sexuality.
Sexuality.